For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love.
And what are some of the things that you've really run out of time? And we've got to talk about your latest. I want to go back a little bit, first of all, and celebrate a true legend.
Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work.
And did you pursue performing opportunities while you were in high school?
Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. My show is all about celebrating life, celebrating art, celebrating artists, celebrating whatever we can find to celebrate in whatever we can find to celebrate in these dark times. But they're not as dark as you may think they are. And I am so excited about today's show because we are going to be celebrating Rhonda Ross. She is an artist, she's a singer, she's an entrepreneur, and she has discovered the force within. And we're going to talk about this creativity. Not only the force within, but the force without, the force that surrounds her. I'm going to let her talk about the force within and the force without, and then I will bring her on. Here she is, Rhonda Ross.
Are you a woman of a certain age? I like to call us grown folk, because we are grown, right? I mean, we are grown up women on this road of life, and this road can be twisty and turny and loop-de-loopy, and you never know what's coming next. It just feels like each day there's another bump in the road that we need to navigate around, and dense fog on our path that we have to figure out how on earth we're going to find our way through it. Because we're the caretakers, right? We're the get-it-doners. We're the ones who spin those plates and we don't let not one of them fall. We juggle our roles as mothers and daughters and wives and sisters and friends, and we don't let not one of them fall. So then, why do we sometimes feel so unseen? So lost? So like our work goes unnoticed, even with all this navigating through fog and spinning the plates and stuff. Like somehow life is just dragging us along. When will we have a chance to carve out time for ourselves, to focus on our own needs and our own dreams and our own goals, to spin our own plates? These are some of the questions that I think about all the time, and I'm exploring in my new series of articles titled The Force Within. And if you ask yourself these same questions and you're looking for mental, emotional, spiritual tools to help you navigate the stressful, anxiety-filled currents of life, motherhood and daughterhood and career and finances and self-care and health, I want you to check out The Force Within on my website at therhondaross.com, therhondaross.com, and see if there are some answers there for you, because I believe the force within will never steer you wrong. May the force within be with you.
Rhonda, you are the force.
Thank you, Richard. You
know, as I was listening to this today, and I was reading, and one of my favorite writers is Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artistry, and she was talking about creativity, and I don't think there is any division between the force and creativity and all of this. And what I love about you, among many things, is that you walk the walk and you talk the talk, and you are living by example. So thank you for that. Thank you for setting that shining light and showing us the way. And we're going to talk about all these things. But this show is Richard Skipper Celebrates. And I want to ask you, in addition to all these things that we're going to talk about today, a new CD, this newsletter, all these things that you do, what are you celebrating today?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Richard. I really appreciate it. I would like to start off firstly. If we have any technical difficulties, you'll just let me know and I'll make a change. But I was trying to decide where I should be for this interview tech wise. So please let me know that. And in terms of what am I celebrating? Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. If these 2 years haven't taught us anything, they've taught us that we can and we should celebrate even the little things, right? Things that we took for granted before 2 years ago. Health, feeling good in our bodies, not feeling anxious. Whenever there's a moment that I don't feel anxious, I'm very thankful for that. I celebrate that. And I appreciate you saying that I walk the walk and I walk the talk. I do, because I need everything I write in my newsletter, which is about personal power, a fortitude that is inside of each of us that we all can access and we all can harness if we learn the tools and the practices. Everything I write about and everything I sing about, I need those lessons for myself. I'm trying to manage this world like anyone else is, and I'm trying to feel as good as I can in my body as anyone else is. And so the reason why I'm walking the talk is because I need that talk. I need those lessons just as much as I'm giving them out to other people.
Are you aware that February is Boost Your Self-Esteem Month?
I was not aware of that.
So it is so appropriate.
Yes,
that you are on this show today, and that we're going to talk about this. I have this wonderful game that someone gave me, and there's this. It's called an icebreaker game,
okay.
And there are these great questions, and I have not even looked at this question, and it's going to be the icebreaker question for us today.
Okay.
I think you and I need an icebreaker question, but I haven't even looked at this, and this is the icebreaker question for you.
Okay.
What was the worst? This is a funny one. What was the worst haircut that you've ever had?
See, that's not. I don't. First of all, my hair journey is a whole other journey. So,
mine too. I said that my hair is the only thing that. First of all, my hair is the only thing that is straight about me. Because I spend hours trying to get my hair to do anything in a right way for me.
Right. Well, my experience, and I know this is not the answer to your question, but it is ice-breaking. So here we go. My experience is that I have strong, curly, kinky hair. And stronger and curlier and kinkier than my sisters. They're biracial. They have a different texture hair. So growing up, it was really in a world. This is also Black History Month, right? So in a world that does not celebrate or has not celebrated Black hair and Black features and all of that, it was complicated for me as a child. And so I was always trying to straighten it. And speaking of straight hair, I was always trying to straighten it and always trying to get it to look different than what it was. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I really started to accept my hair and myself the way that I was. So I don't really know that there was a bad haircut in that regard. I didn't have that kind of experience, but I learned to accept myself and my hair and its texture and my skin color and all of that good stuff. In my 20s, I really started to do that. And I've locked my hair at times. I had dreadlocks for a long time, and I did what they call the big chop, where I cut them all off and had a short natural for a little while. And now I have the hair I have. So I don't know that question really applies to my situation.
But I'm glad that, I did not see the question before we started. I purposely don't look at that.
Yes, no, I think that's so great because it opens up a whole kind of door. I wasn't even going to talk about that journey.
But I am glad it did, because it, it brings up self-esteem.
Yeah.
And so many, young girls are dealing with this issue.
Yes, of course.
There are, I, as a white male, have been surprised to hear that in some schools that some girls have been ostracized
Oh, yes.
because of their hair and things. And again, you mentioned earlier, we've things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And so many people are dealing with issues that you and I may not even be thinking about. So it does, these, are things that we should be talking about.
And what's interesting about the hair conversation in regards to self-esteem is that there definitely issues outside that are telling us what to think about ourselves, our sexuality, our skin color, our hair texture, our the shape of our nose, the shape of our bodies, all of those things. What happens though is that we can internalize that critique, and that's where it becomes an issue of self-esteem, where growing up, I didn't even need a school or a job or anyone to tell me that my hair wasn't right, because I had already internalized it. I had already believed it inside of myself. And so the work and the responsibility became me unbelieving that about myself, and it became my work to do. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There are people who are being ostracized for that reason, but it's more, to me, what happens on the inside that we need to really take control of and get clear about.
Well, in my show, I normally ask for a photograph of you as a 5-year-old, and I didn't get a photograph of you as a 5-year-old. But
there's probably a whole bunch of them online.
Yes, but the reason I asked for a 5-year-old photograph is because, to me, the 5-year-old is the purest self. That's when school starts for most kids. When you start school and peer pressure gets added on to you.
Yeah.
And teachers start telling you who you should be or who you should not be, and how you should act and how you should not act.
Yeah.
And if you could take us back and you can tell us a little bit about the 5-year-old self and who you were at 5-year-old, and how you started to, how your identity started to shape as a 5-year-old, and how you started to find yourself on the path that you started to begin in your life.
Yes, thank
your life
you.
journey.
Wow, what a wonderful question. I don't know that I've ever been asked that. And I'm imagining myself, I'm seeing myself in my mind's eye at 5. So at 5, we were still living in Los Angeles, my mother and her 3 girls. I'm the oldest of 3. And I'm the oldest now of 5, but at the time I was the oldest of 3. And 5 years old. It's interesting that you say that that's the purest. I see why you say that. That's interesting. But I would say still then, yeah, that was the time when that you're absolutely right. That was the time when things start to shift for me. I come from a biracial, interracial family. My biological father is Berry Gordy, but I was raised at that time, and I believed at that time that my father was Bob Silverstein, my mother's husband. So I had a white father and a black mother, and we were just happy as could be in Los Angeles. And I started kindergarten, just like you said. Mm-hmm. And that was my first confrontation with people telling me that I had limits because of my blackness. I had never known that. Other kindergartners. We were playing house, and I said I want to be the mother, and they said you can't be the mother, and I said why not? And they said because you're black, and I said but I have a mother who's black. And then they said, well, you can be the grandmother, but you can't be the mother. And then the next year we moved to New York, and everybody had a crush on this one boy named Teddy Frischling. Everyone had a crush on him, and I had a crush on him too. He was beautiful. And they said, no, you can't have a crush on him. you have to like Brett, who was a lovely man. We're still friends, Brett and I. But you have to like Brett. And I said, why? He said, because he's black. You have to like him. You can't like Teddy. Things like that. It sounds so petty now as an adult looking back, but as a child, it was the
petty at any age. I'll tell you that much.
first time that I just said, wait, what? I can't like who I want to like. I can't be who I want to be. This was all new for me at 5 and 6 years old. And at 5 and 6 years old, I think I was already straightening my hair, as we spoke about earlier. I think I was already doing that at 5 and 6 years old. And so the picture that I have in my mind, it's pulled back similar to how I have it now, but because it was straightened and broken off already, it's kind of sticking up in the front. So there was already issues of self-esteem sort of being implanted in me from outside sources. That was new for me. And you're right, 5, 6 years old is probably when it started.
But let me ask you a question. I mean, these outside sources, were they mostly adults?
No.
Really?
No, they were a lot of adults, but also the children. That's what I was saying. Yeah, no, absolutely, children too.
Because I'll tell you something that that may come as a surprise. I grew up in the South. I grew up in South Carolina, and I'm quite older than you are. But when I was in the 3rd grade,
yes,
our principal came into our class and asked us how we felt about having a Black teacher the next year. And it didn't matter to us. And I can honestly say that none of the students in the school had any inkling on this. I will say, however, that some of the parents threatened to pull kids out of the school.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say this.
Yeah.
And so the next year, we had Miss Hickman, who to this day, I'm going to tear up, was one of my favorite teachers in school.
Yeah.
I loved Miss Hickman. She was treated so badly by the other teachers in school.
Wow.
The prejudice did not come from those kids. We loved her. There were also 2 kids in school, David Bratcher and Yolanda Galloway. Yolanda Galloway is still a friend of mine on Facebook. She may be watching. And we've remained friends all these years. Yolanda Galloway and David Bratcher, who has since passed away, were bussed into our school as an experiment to see how they would acclimate with white kids in our school. It was not an issue with us.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say, I'm going to be 61 at the end of this week. And I can honestly say at 61 years of age, I don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand. To this day, I still don't understand the color issue. I don't get it. I can't wrap my brain around it.
Yeah.
It's
not to be you're not supposed to be able to wrap your brain around it.
So,
you're not supposed to be able to.
So I don't understand. Yeah. That's why I asked if it came, but it did come from the other kids.
Well, I do agree with you that children have to be taught racism. And I do think that these children were. I mean, as simple as that. There were other things I haven't even mentioned that happened at 6 when we moved to the New York school, and they were taught. Absolutely. That's absolutely the case,
Did you find that there was a major difference between LA and New York?
I don't remember there being a major difference in terms of what we're talking about. No, I don't. No, I don't know. I don't remember.
As a young girl in school in New York, and how did you navigate these waters as a young child? And I'm asking these questions because I want to talk about the self-esteem that you deal with.
I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I navigated it. I did the best I could as a young child, but I think I internalized a lot of the limits. I think I internalized a lot of the non-self-acceptance. I know I did. And I, quite frankly, internalized it for a long time. And it wasn't until towards the end of high school that I started questioning it. And then in my college years that I really sort of took the reins in my own hands. And then in my early 20s, sort of broke through it altogether. I see that light coming. I'm trying to get out of
Oh,
it.
that's it.
Yeah, so
That's the light coming from within you.
that's my light. That's
Yes.
my
It's your aura coming through.
That's my yes. But it took those years. It took those years to turn that around, and it took a lot of focus and intention to turn it around. You know, and I did, but I had, it's like an onion. I had to keep peeling it away. You know, first it was questioning, you know, just questioning myself and how I felt about myself and my looks and comparing that to how I felt about my sisters specifically, or white people in general, or whatever it was, what my limits, what I had been told my limits were, what self-defeating thoughts I had inside of myself.
Now, when you were told that there were limits being placed upon you, did you believe that?
I did. I mean, I really would like to fix this. I did. I think it's easy to believe that as a young child, and I did. But it took, you know, I've been told it's one thing to say whose fault something is, but it's another thing to say whose responsibility it is to fix it. Right. So it doesn't matter whose fault it was, but I realized, and slowly, like an onion, had to keep peeling away and keep realizing that it was my responsibility, and only my responsibility, to love myself and to find my own value. And no one else could do that for me, even if I wanted them to, even if they wanted to. No one could do that for me. That is only me and my job. And it was work, but I did it. I continued. There are practices, there are ways to go about things. And yeah, as a singer-songwriter, I write songs about it. I wrote a song called Nobody's Business. It's on the CD that you have.
Yes.
But it says,
it's amazing, by the way, everyone.
you,
And
thank
someone is going to get a copy of this today.
oh, wonderful.
Yes,
Wonderful. Well, I wrote these words: ain't nobody's job to make you happy. Nobody's job to pull you through. Ain't nobody born to give you sunshine that lights inside of you. Ain't nobody gonna seek your freedom. Your heart will lead you through. You're the one to choose how you're feeling. Ain't nobody's business if you do. Now, I wrote that a lot later in my life, but it reminds me constantly that it doesn't matter where those limiting beliefs came from. It is my job, and only my job and my work, to release them. And you can.
Which came first, the singing or the songwriting?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say probably the singing, but I've been a songwriter all of my life. From a young age, I was writing songs. Definitely from my high school years, I was writing songs. That's how I express myself. That's how I untangle my thoughts when they get matted up. That's how I do that. Yeah. Songwriting and poetry writing and journal writing, all of that. Those are some of my tools.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
If you were a journal writer before the songwriting began.
I'm a journalist. I mean, I'm a journaler.
Yeah, I do my morning pages every morning.
Yes, just like you were saying, Julia Cameron. I write. It helps me a lot. It helps me just kind of, I see it as threads that are knotted up in a ball, and writing helps me just kind of pull them out and separate them out, so I can really see what I'm dealing with, you know.
Now, you grew up surrounded by music. When did you start to find your own voice in this cacophony of music that surrounded you?
I've been a singer. I've been a singer a long time. And I think it just takes a while to find your own voice. And it took me a while. It took me a while. I was deep into my adulthood when I really started to find it. And when I found it, what it was a mix of music and this sort of personal growth, um, exploration. That's really what I like to talk about. You know, when people say, "Oh, you're a jazz singer," you should sing in this at this jazz club or this jazz cruise or whatever. I always have to stop them and say, "That's not really what I do." Yes, I'm a singer, and yes, singing is the medium, or music is the medium, but there's something else happening here. We're having a different conversation. We're having a conversation about self-esteem. We're having a conversation about personal power. We're having a conversation about the force within. And I'm not just singing songs to sing songs. Um, we're coming together as a group, myself and the audience, and we are communing and we are lifting each other up, inspiring each other and encouraging each other to be our best selves and to dig deep and to take responsibility. And once I found that that's really what I was doing, not just singing songs to sing songs, that is when I started to find my voice and my take on all of this stuff. Yeah, and that was in my adulthood.
Well, I want to go back a little further. When you started on this path, and
Yes.
I mean, like I said, you grew up with the music. Um, did you always know that you wanted to go down the road of being a singer, or you were also a writer
Yeah.
and a songwriter? I mean, you could have gone the road of writing songs for other people, or writing for yourself. Did you know this was going to be the path that you were going to go down?
I um I knew that I was going to be an artist. I sort of always knew that. I knew that self-expression was important to me. Um, that's how I wanted to spend my life. That's how what I want to practice in my life was exploring my feelings and the world and looking at things. I knew that I wanted to write. Singing I love, but I definitely knew I wanted to create the songs as opposed to just sing other people's songs. Um, I'm happy for other people to sing my songs, so I'm still happy. I just wrote a song for my mother's newest record. Her newest CD is called "Thank You." It just came out a few months ago,
Oh my
and
God. I saw your video where you were talking about your mom's CD, and the joy in your face pops off the screen. You're
thank.
just so happy that she's
Well,
singing.
I really am very proud of what she's done, and she did it in during this pandemic, and she out created it. You know, in the midst of everything we were going through, she put that into her music. I just was really 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 pleased with that. And then on top of it, the icing on the cake was that she asked me to co-write a song with her, and that song is "All Is Well," which is just perfect song for where we are right
Oh,
now.
thank
Just
God.
reminding us that all is well, despite what it might look like sometimes, all is well. And so I co-wrote that song with her. And then her birthday is in March. And last March, I wrote a song for her as a gift. And she loved it and ended up singing it for the record. And that's called Count on Me. And so I'm always happy for people, especially my mother, to sing my songs. But yeah, I definitely felt as a singer that I had more to say if I was singing my own songs, as opposed to I do covers now and then, but I mostly sing my own songs. Yeah.
I want to, when the pandemic hit, I live in New York,
Yeah.
and everything was March 12th. That's when the theater shut down, everything shut down. Where were you in terms of your artistry when everything shut down?
I had a little technical difficulty. Can you repeat the last part of
Yes.
that
Where were
question?
you as far as your artistry is concerned when everything shut down?
Thank you. I was on tour with my mother. We had done a maybe 3-week tour at the end of February. and we were in Miami. And I was planning to come out here to Los Angeles because I had gigs set up out here for the end of March. And our last two performances in Florida were canceled because of the lockdowns, because of the pandemic. And I decided, even though I live in New York also, I decided to fly out here to Los Angeles because at that point we didn't know, was everything going to be canceled? Was it going to only be 3 weeks? We didn't know anything.
No.
And so I came out here to Los Angeles, but my gigs out here, of course, got canceled. And then the lockdowns happened, and I stayed out here. So that's where I was in my sort of touring career, and where I was in my artistry. I used what I thought was going to be 3 weeks, which ended up being 3 months, which ended up, now we're going into year 3, right? But I used that time to make art. I used that time to write songs, to write poems. I wrote a screenplay. I just tried to really use that time. I just tried to use it, and again, that art is what fuels me and calms me and helps me stay sane. So that's what I did.
And let's talk a little bit about your spirituality, because you are so grounded, and you've got such a great light and spirit around you. Where does that come from, and where did you find your own light within yourself and the force within yourself?
Thank you. I have two parts. My answer is in 2 parts. One, I feel very, very thankful and very blessed to have been raised by the parents that I was raised by. Specifically my mother. My mother, people celebrate her for her glamour and her elegance and her just bossness. And she should be celebrated for all of that, but she also has a fortitude inside of her and a light inside of her and a constant reaching for what's better and what's new and a love inside of her, a deep love inside of her. And she reaches for peace. And I've been seeing that, watching that from a young child, watching her take lemons and turn them into lemonade, and not hold grudges, and
Thanks
and
for
love.
sharing with us. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and love herself and let go of the past. Not she doesn't cling. She goes with the flow, and she's easy with it. I've watched all of that for all of my life, and though I might not have been consciously pulling from it in my earlier years, I know it was inside of me. And so I got to about, I don't know, mid-20s ish.
Before you move on, excuse me for interrupting, but where did her groundedness come from?
If I had to guess, and I'm guessing, that it came from her mother. My grandmother, Ernestine, was an incredible woman, and strong, but also filled with joy, and raised 6 children, and just kind of always, again, reached for the best, the highest calling in her. I have to assume my mother got that from her, but there may have been other influences as well. But I know she's got it. She's an optimist to her core, my mother. She's really always looking for the best in people, always looking for the best in herself, always looking for the best in situations. And we, her 5 children, were raised in that soup. We were raised to go for our dreams. We were raised to believe in ourselves. We were raised in an environment of joy and so much love and unconditional love. So not only were we taught to have that for others, but it was put in us to have that for ourselves. And again, um, I didn't really practice it as much as I could have until I was in my 20s. And why did I pull on it and start to find it in my 20s? Because I was getting batted around by life a little bit. The way we do, no big thing that I can put my finger on, but a lot of little things, a lot of self-esteem things, a lot of lack of self-belief things, a lot of discouragement, a lot of feeling down and discouraged, and this just the stuff that we go through in life. Who am I? How am I supposed to weather this? Who am I supposed to be? Why aren't things working out for me the way that I think they should? Am I doing my best? If I am doing my best, why is it not showing up the way I want it to show up? All kinds of stuff. What are the fears? What are the limiting beliefs? Like we talked about, all of that. And for some reason, it just kind of came to a head for me in my mid to late 20s. Came to a head for me. And I thought, again, I've got to fix this. And I'm the only one who can fix this. And if I want to live a happy life, I'm going to have to get to the core of what is going on with me. I think it was Chris Rock who said, people say life is short, but life can be long if you're unhappy.
That's right.
It feels very long. And I didn't want to live an unhappy, long life. So I said, let me get this together. And it was really at that point. So I just turned, I say I just, about 8 months ago, 6 months ago, I don't know. I turned 50. So
You're a baby.
I'm a baby. So this is 25 years ago. I started looking for the tools, looking for the practices, looking for the strategies. I knew they were out there. I knew other people. I knew I wasn't alone. I knew other people had figured this out. I knew other people had bumped into these same issues, and how did they navigate them? And I started reading everything I could get my hands on, everything from the Bible to Wayne Dyer to Buddhism to law of attraction, to all of it. And of course, The Artist's Way, I read that, and Four Agreements. And I just read everything I could think to read, and started.
Four Agreements, it's right here.
Oh, do you? That's so great. That's so good, right? So good. And so I just started reading all of those things and studying them, and really, really like pulling them apart. Like, why does this work? Why does this work? What does that have to do? What does this one have in common with this one? And what is this successful person doing that reminds me of what's in one of these books? Like, I just kept doing that. And so for the last 20, 25 years, that's what I've been doing. And it started to come out of me, in my music, in my songs, in my writing, and now in my articles, The Force Within. This is just me sharing with my audience what my tools are, because they are tools. It's not magic, and it's not luck. People who are happy and grounded and balanced, it's because they are doing something to stay that way.
Absolutely.
It's not just lucky that they woke up that way. And I think it's really easy when you're not feeling good to assume other people are just sort of bumping into happy. And we're not bumping into happy. We're doing the work.
You're certainly doing the work, and you do this. The newsletter comes out twice a week, which is, God bless you. Why did you decide to do twice a week? I mean, most people comes out once a week. And I know that you are focused on this newsletter is for women. You are empowering women, but I love your newsletter.
Thank you.
I read it too.
Well, it's not just for women. It's just that I am a woman.
That's true.
And so I know I'm coming from my specific point of view, Black female mother, 50 years old. I know I'm coming from a specific point of view, and I acknowledge that. But the tools that I have are not specifically for women, not specifically for Black people, not specifically for parents, none of that. It is for human beings. And so, no, I know my readership is not solely women at all. I know that. And I'm happy about that. But I was approached by Facebook, now Meta. I was approached by them and asked if I would write for their new platform bulletin, and I was given a choice about what I wanted to write about and how often I wanted to write. And so it's a mix between 6 and 8 times a month. So sometimes it's twice a week, sometimes it's once a week, but that's what I've decided to do. That's what I have signed on for. And for me, it has been such an unexpected blessing, because again, I like to write, and I do write, but I usually write just for myself, my journal in the mornings. This has allowed me to really, interesting, something that I do anyway. Everything that happens in my life, I tend to I put into my brain, and I digest it, and I look at what's the lesson in this, what's the lesson for me here, what's the lesson for me. And these articles have allowed me to do that on a broader scale. So everything that happens, a conversation with my son, or an encounter at the grocery store, or like all kinds of different things, I already am saying, what is the lesson in that for me? But now I get to write about it and share that with my readers.
Well, I'm going to ask you, is there a difference between, because I do my morning pages, for you, is there a difference between writing for you and writing for the general public?
Very little difference. Very little difference. And no, what people are getting in this article, in these articles, is my stream of consciousness, my train of thought. It's very similar to what I write in my diary. Matter of fact, in my journal. Matter of fact, I often pull sections from my journal and just plop them in there. So yeah, it's very similar. It's the way my brain works. I am always looking for the lesson. I'm always looking for, how can I grow from this? How can I grow from this? And in general, of course, this pandemic has had different sections. You know, we had the lockdown, and then we had this part and this part. You know, we had like different parts, but each time I'm always looking for, where's the lesson? And then I try to step back and look at the whole thing. You know, 2 years of a pandemic, with a lot of fear and anxiety and loss, a lot of anger, a lot of polarization. What can I learn from this? Where is the lesson in here for me? Because I truly believe, in my heart of hearts, that God, source, the universe, is working for us. But we have to see it, right? We have to see it in order to benefit from it. So I'm constantly looking for, how is this growing me? You know, how is this growing me? And I think that the perspective of looking for the positive, looking for the silver lining, looking for the lesson, that is one of the ways that I harness the force within. That's one of the ways that I keep myself balanced, and I don't let myself go through the free fall rabbit hole of despair, despite what's going on, no matter what's going on.
What do you think is the biggest impact that the past 2 years has had on you, as far as your art is concerned, as far as your writing is concerned, that you are going to take with you beyond when we get to the other side of this pandemic? And I do believe we are approaching the other side of the pandemic.
Yes. What is my biggest takeaway? Was that the question?
Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway, and these articles at Bulletin have allowed me to have a platform for that. But my biggest takeaway is that we're all in this together, and that it is okay. And not only okay, but it is preferred that I and each of us just be ourselves, our most authentic, unique selves, that there's no reason to sort of pretend to be something other than what we are, to be more together than we are, to be more, I don't know, we're scared.
Amen.
We're confused.
Amen.
We're full of anxiety. We're all trying to do what's right. We're all trying to figure out what's right. What is the right choice here? What is the right thing to do? How do I keep myself safe? How do I keep my family safe? What do I do? And every part of the pandemic has been different, right? Different questions have come up regarding that. We're all trying to figure it out. It has taught me so much compassion, one, for myself, and two, for everybody else.
Yes.
I have so much compassion for everybody. I don't feel the polarization. I see the polarization, but I don't feel it in my heart, because I really believe that every single person, whether you are on a different political spectrum than I am, or you see things differently, I believe you are out here trying to do the best you can, and we are all trying to figure it out. So
absolutely. Well, we're going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to tell everyone what's going to happen. The Force Within, hashtag the Force Within. Everybody, you don't have to do this more than once, because once you do this, you're automatically going to be entered into this drawing. I do not have any control over this, as you will see in a few moments. And while we're waiting for you all to weigh in, I'm going to ask some more questions. One of my favorite shows was Inside the Actors Studio. James Limpton always ended the show with his list of questions. And I've got some random questions here. And this is just for the fun of it, just to give a broader spectrum to what we've already talked about today. And the first question, I'm reading Brene Brown's wonderful book, Atlas of the Heart now.
Oh, I have it. I haven't started it yet.
You haven't?
No, I haven't started it yet. Is it great? I listened to the podcast. It's a 2-part podcast with her and Oprah on Super Soul. Did you?
I haven't seen it yet. Is it on?
Yes. You can find it on her podcast.
I'm going to go.
That's what made me get the book. Oh, okay, good. That's my next book.
Well, it's funny, that we're talking about this, because I lead a book group. Okay. And someone in the book group suggested this is our next book. So I've already jumped into it, but she's got certain words that are trigger words. And I pulled, a couple of these words. And the first word that I'm going to is resentment. Ooh. And what's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear the word resentment?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind, I almost saw an image. I saw an image of, I saw a clenching, an image of a person almost tight, clenching, like resentment. I know it's about usually resenting someone else, but I saw the toxicity of what resentment does to yourself when you're holding on to resentment. That was my first feeling.
Wow. Jealousy.
Interesting, because in the podcast she talked about jealousy versus envy.
Did you really? Wow.
Yes,
I can't wait to see this.
Jealousy. Unnecessary. Not real. Almost like competition. Not real. There's enough to go around for everybody. It doesn't make sense to be jealous. What's for you is for you. What's not for you, what's for them is for them. Jealousy's got, it's almost like I know it's a real emotion, but it's based on non-fact. That's a non-reality.
Wow. Perfect. Reverence.
Reverence. Gosh. Um, I see. I don't know. I guess I see a lot of pictures, right? For some reason, um, I see a bowing down, but I see a bowing down to like forces that we don't understand, but that are there for us. The force that comes to mind is like creativity. For some reason, when you said reverence, I saw like a bowing down to creativity. Um, um, on a quick separate note, Brene Brown is friends with Elizabeth Gilbert, and she's got a book called Big Magic, and it really talks about
I
kind of.
also have. Yes.
It's a great book.
Yes.
I should be in your book club.
You and I have to be. We've got to join forces on our books.
I
Yes.
think so. But
And Rhonda, when are you going to write your book?
What'd you say?
When are you going to write your book?
Oh, I'm writing a book right now. I am
Will
writing a book.
you come back when your book is ready?
100%. I am writing it right as we speak. I am writing it.
Oh my God.
Yes. And so, but reverence, I saw reverence to creativity, reverence to like like forces that good forces that are outside of us, kind of moving us along. That's what I see.
Wonderful. What is the biggest risk that you've ever taken in your career?
The biggest risk I've ever taken in my career, the risks that I take in my career have to do with being authentic. Okay, so what I want to say about that is, as the daughter of Dinah Ross, it's been a push pull, where I feel like I know what her fans want from me. Um, I feel like in a lot of cases, they want the second coming of Dinah Ross, and I'm not Dinah Ross. The bottom line is, nobody else is Dinah Ross, and anyone who tries to pretend to be Dinah Ross is going to get their feelings hurt, because they can't be no other Dinah Ross but the one that exists. But I would say the biggest risks for me came when I really said, okay, that may be true, but there's only one Rhonda Ross.
That's true.
And I'm going to be myself and make the music I want to make, and present it the way I want to present it, the way I feel called to present it, whether that's what you are expecting from me or not. And that always feels risky. And I do that in different ways at different times, and in different amounts, but that always feels risky to me. Even at my grown up age, that still feels risky. But I do it. But I absolutely do it because I don't feel that it's fair for me to have to live any other way. You know, this is my life, and I want to be able to live it and express myself through my art, the way I'm being called to do that. And I feel a responsibility towards that. So I do it, but it feels risky every time. Feels risky every time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Who is the one person who you feel is the most sensitive to your needs?
Myself.
Perfect answer.
And it's true. and that's okay, because I don't think it's anybody else's job to be sensitive to my needs, more than it is my job.
And maybe you've just answered the next question as well. We're going to find out. What one person most affected the choices that you've made in your career?
Yeah, I would say myself, but I would also say, the influence of who my mother is has definitely been a big part of how I make my choices. And my wonderful husband, I have an incredible husband, Rodney Kendrick. He's an artist, he's a pianist, he's a composer. And he really has believed in my my authenticity, my uniqueness as an artist. and so he's had a huge impact on the choices that I've made artistically. Huge impact. And early in our relationship, we've been together a long time now.
Good for you.
Early in our relationship, he was the musical director for a jazz singer by the name of Abby Lincoln, and
Oh,
Abby really,
I love Abby Lincoln.
oh, Abby was my heart, and she put me at her feet and let me just kind of learn from her, her example of, I mean, if anybody's authentic, it's Abby Lincoln, right?
Mm.
And she just, I learned so much from her about how to be, how to speak my truth through my art. So there are lots of people who have had big impact on my choices in my career.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
What is the best physical thing that you've ever done for another human being in your lifetime?
That feels like a hard question to answer somehow. I don't know.
Okay.
I say that because I try really hard. I try really hard to be a good friend and a good daughter, and a good wife and a good mother. Um, I try to be the type of person that it benefits you,
Mhm.
my child, my mother, my husband. Um, it benefits you to be around me. It benefits you to be in relationship with me. I'm hoping that your encounters with me make you better, make you stronger, make you more at peace. I try to do that, and I try to be that in the moment. Like, I'm consciously trying to be that. I don't autopilot skate through life when it comes to that. I'm conscious of it. That said, I hope that I'm having that effect, but I don't know. It's hard for me to say, "Oh, let me tell you what I did for this one person." Right?
Well, can I say something? You did that for me today.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So
Thank
seriously, I mean that.
you.
Who do you greatly admire in this business and why?
I admire so many people, yeah. I got so many, but I'm just gonna kind of pick the people that popped in my head. Just now, some, the people who are popping in my head right now are women who, are approximately my age, and have been doing this thing for a minute. So Erica Badu just popped in my head,
Ah,
and Jill Scott popped in my head, and Janet Jackson, who I just watched her documentary, popped in my head. And these women, I mean, there's so many, but I'm just going to say those three because they are women who are unique. They're unique artists. They are speaking from their point of view and their perspective, and they're doing their thing, and they're staying true to the game, no matter what. The ups and downs of career, and the ups and downs of popularity and all of that, and they are just staying true to their voice. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that authenticity. As an artist, there's a lot of other reasons why I can pick other people, their entrepreneurship or their philanthropy or that sort of thing. But I really, right then, and because of a lot of what we're talking about, just the idea of being authentic and being yourself, and staying true to yourself, even as the winds of change kind of come and go. I'm gonna pick those three.
that's great. And this
Yeah.
is my last question for you. And it goes back to Brene Brown's book again, and the other world, and the first word that pops into your head when you hear the word envy.
Uh, Interesting. I want to say kind of the same thing that I said about jealousy, but envy feels different. I feel like envy. Um, I don't know the exact definition, and I know that she explores that in her book. But I'm going to say envy feels to me like it feels encouraging. I'm sure that's what I'm supposed to say. But it feels like, yeah, like I want to go get that. Like it feels like that.
Well,
Ooh, I like how you're living. I want to go live like that. Different than jealousy, which says, you shouldn't live like that. That what you have should be mine. Envy feels like, ooh, I want to go, oh, I love how authentic you're being. Oh, I love how your career is. Oh, I love how uh uh how much passive income you're making in that investment. I want some of that.
well,
I
someone
don't know if that's the right definition, but that's how it feels to me.
Well, a few people may have envy because one person's going to get your CD right now. And let's see who it's going to be. We're
Okay.
going to do the drawing right now. This is how it works.
Amazing.
And it's Rosa Puzo.
Amazing.
So she's going to be very, very happy about this. So we will make sure that she gets the CD.
Okay.
I'm going to we're going to bring this on the screen. Don't go anywhere for a moment, Rhonda. I just want to.
Can I just say something really quickly? Yes. Rose, when you get the CD, take a picture and get it to me in my social media, and I'll post it.
That's wonderful. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. And I'm sure that I can speak for Rhonda when I say this. When you show up, we appreciate it. So thank you all for taking the time to spend an hour with us this afternoon. If this is your first time at Richard Skipper Celebrates, I hope that it will not be your last time. Please subscribe to this channel. My goal with this channel is to celebrate. It's to celebrate artists such as Rhonda and their body of worth. Not only Rhonda, but all the artists that have been on this show. Check them out. Check out their other channels. Check out their CDs. When Rhonda's book comes out, I hope you'll be back to talk about it.
Absolutely.
I cannot wait for that to happen. And I can't wait to add it to my shelf and to be part of our book club. And maybe you'll even come and talk to our book club about that. No pressure, of course. But in any case, please leave a subscribe, leave a comment, share this with your friends. And I also want to tell everyone about this incredible site that I've discovered, which I think that you will like as well, Rhonda. And it's and I'm going to pull this up right now so that you see it on the bottom of your screens. And well, there you are, Rhonda.
That's a good site too. Go to that
site as well. Keep this one up there. And there's this other site that I want to bring up as well. And it's called whatyoumeantome.com. And what I want everyone, and Rhonda, I hope you'll do this too, go to this site, and then I want you all to go to your Facebook friends list, and I want you to pull up the 7th name that pops up, and I want you to go back to this page, and I want you to fill this form out, telling that 7th friend what they mean to you. Last week, I lost 3 friends in 1 week. And after they passed away, I saw this outpouring of love for these friends on Facebook. And I thought, wouldn't it have been great if they had seen this outpouring of love 2 weeks before they were gone on Facebook? And I think that we need to take the time to do this while our friends are walking on this planet.
Absolutely.
So everybody, we need to do this. We need to tell our friends. And if you're too lazy, or if you're going to procrastinate, you don't want to fill out the form, pick up the phone and call that 7th friend and tell them what they mean to you. I have a dear friend, David Friedman, great songwriter himself, and he always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. So, Rhonda, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about today, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish that we had, or just any message that you want to put out to anyone who's watching right now. I thank you for being here. I thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world and that you're going to continue to give. I celebrate you and your body of worth. Thank you for all you do. And don't worry about how to end the show. When you say goodbye, the final credits will roll. Thank you. And I celebrate you today and every day. Goodbye. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that's so wonderful. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for this time. It's so important. It's so important what you said about letting people know what they mean to you while they're still here. So I hope everyone does take that opportunity to go to whatyoumeantome.com and use that as a springboard. Yes, tell the seventh person, but tell the sixth person and the eighth person and the 12th person and all of that, because it's so important. This time, this pandemic has just taught us so many things, and for me, what I have seen in these 2 years that have been for many of us the most difficult 2 years we've ever experienced, or definitely up there with some of the most difficult. What I have learned is that we really do have the ability to survive and even to thrive in these difficult times. We have that ability. We have a fortitude that is inside of us, each of us. And there are tools that help us harness that power, that personal power, that force within. There are tools and practices, and people are writing about them and talking about them. And so I say to you, if you are out there and you are struggling, and many of us are, if you are struggling, know that you are not alone. You are not alone. And there are ways that you can feel better. And look for the places where you can find those tools and those practices. And I'm offering the ones that I know of. I do that with my series of articles, The Force Within, and you can find that on my website, therhondaross.com. But there are many others who are offering so many tools. And so find them, because they exist. And we can survive and thrive and feel better in the midst of, no matter what is happening around us, pandemic or not. We can feel better. We can survive and thrive. So I love you. I thank you, Richard, for having me, and I will see you soon.